So we'll start with the coordinator of special education position, and I hear that Mr. Swan has all the scoop for this.
Yeah, I can present on this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I move the mic forward.
Roger that.
So I've been East Haven 7 years. This is my 7.5 year right now. And one of the things that we've been aware of is a statutory regulation 10-76 DD, which basically speaks to the administrative positions which oversee special ed positions in a municipality, a district. It's a long-standing regulation, probably before when I was still in a building, it was in existence, when I was a building level administrator. It speaks to the number of supervisors per staff members that you supervise. I guess the easiest way to say it is that the recommendation it gives a top end and a low end. So I guess the easiest way to explain it is that it asks that there be one supervisor or their equivalent for every 44 full-time special education personnel. That's probably the easiest way to say it, because the bottom number is 23, so it doesn't make sense to say that. So 44, 2 supervisors or the equivalent for anywhere up to 72 personnel, and 1 additional supervisor for every 33 such positions above that. I put forth a position request for coordinator of special education because I wasn't sure if the board was aware, but my office currently supervises 94 certified and licensed staff and 113 paraprofessionals. So we're well above the numbers that are typically supervised and have been for quite some time by that number of folks. I guess the best news is that we can pay for this out of the IDEA grant. There are funds in there to cover this position in comparison to some salaries that we already have in existence that we can move into that position. So it's really at no greater, I guess the easiest way to say it from where I sit is that it's at no greater expense to the board.
So what are the requirements? I mean, is it 092 or it's preferred?
Correct. So the easiest way to say that is, again, special education certification, 6th-year degree in an 092, which is your administrative endorsement. We do have we have produced a job description. We've had it for some time. We put it forward, and I believe it was in your packet for you to review. I could always make hard copies. I brought a copy with me if you like. I think the important thing for me to you guys is do you have questions? Because that's really what I want to do. I want to answer your questions about this position.
Who do you have supervising? Like, you can't be doing all the
Me.
PPTs.
So I have one person who does the out-of-district PPTs. He's a PPT chair. He's in a teacher's position right now. He has 148 students on his caseload. Because you have to remember, we have a couple of hundred students. It's not just the kids that are out of district. It's the kids that are at our magnet schools who need just a little extra help, but who still are identified under ADA 504 or IDEA. We still have programmatic and fiscal responsibility for those students. They may not be in our buildings, but we still own them. They're still our responsibility, and we take that responsibility very seriously. So those folks are seen by one of my PPT chair, and a teacher on special assignment currently helps me cover the pre-K environment and birth to 3 referrals. Again, a whole nother level of work for us, which is, again, I always find fascinating. Like, it's my work, it's my love, right? But you have to remember that 1/3 of all live births in East Haven go right to birth to 3. So that's not kids that those aren't kids that we're saying, oh, that kid's special ed because we tested him. That's a little person that a mom or dad brought to their pediatrician or brought to another specialist, and somebody said, something not right. Your little boy or little girl needs a little help. And sometimes it's just speech, right? Sometimes it's just a little articulation problem. But lots of times it's something serious. It's a developmental delay. It's intellectual disability. It's physical impairment. I will always encourage you guys, please, please, go down to Deer Run. Look at the magic that Laura Cotella and her team are doing there with our littlest kids, pre-K to 2. It'll bring tears to your eyes, I guarantee it. Walk in that building and see those little people with specialized equipment who are learning to walk and run and play and speak. I defy anyone in this room to go down there and not be moved by the magic that happens in that school. Part of this person's responsibility will help me oversee that pre-K population as they come into our district. And as you can see in the job description, it's a pre-K to 5 coordinator.
I have a question.
Please,
So.
I love to answer questions
Who
to you.
runs the PPTs now?
So, in district,
Yes, I mean, you don't have to say, I mean, you could say their name, I'm sure it's
So-
fine, but you have
so
a
the
teacher on special assignment.
teacher on
for out of
special
dis-
assignments
For out of
does-
district.
so there's a PPT chair who does the out-of-district. PPT chair does all those out-of-district cases, those 148 kids. Then in district, the teacher on special assignment does all the, what's called the transition PPT. When a kid is 2.9 years old, they have what's called a transition PPT. And they then start to begin the process to move to public education at age 3, because that's when our responsibility legally takes over. So that person does those PPTs and then continues to do those PPTs until usually that child is in kindergarten. And then typically the building principals take over at PPTs. However, I personally supervise all initial PPTs for grades 6 through 12 in all our buildings.
I don't want to say
And
this.
it's important to me to do that. So if you get an initial PPT in
Too
grade 6, I always worry that we missed the boat somewhere, or that we did something wrong, or that kid's new to our district. So I personally do every single initial PPT and 504 meeting for every kid in our building, grades 6 through 12, every day throughout the district. I never miss one. And again, it's my cross-check for our work. And I look to see what we're doing well, and I look to see what we're doing not so well.
So you're looking tonight for us to just,
Approve
Approve the position.
Approve a coordinator of special
and then what?
education
And
position.
then where does it go from there?
We'll advertise for it,
Okay,
we'll interview,
okay.
and we'll go through our process for hiring, because we have to still follow the same process. I mean, that process is set by board policy, but not only by board policy, but by what's right for our kids in our district.
And where do they fall in the, would they be an administrator?
Coordinator's position under administration.
Under administration?
Correct.
Okay. So I do know that, I remember we have something in place for that, correct? I mean,
We do.
We have
We
a-
have we have the financial piece in place. We don't have the person in place. I'm
Right.
asking for a position, not a person.
so I'm going to throw this out there. Very few, I shouldn't say very few, but I think it is true, that very few administrators in your position can go to all those PPTs. I understand that you want to go, and I'm not telling you, I'm just a person making observations and being,
You
Special
hired,
ed
you hired me for a specific reason. One of the reasons you hired me in this district was because of my hands-on expertise with those families.
but you shouldn't, that's just a lot. You're here a lot. You're here late a lot.
I'm here a lot. You're getting your money's worth.
I know that we do. I believe that, Bob.
I like to make sure, I take spending Mr. Hennessy's tax dollars very seriously.
but you might be needed elsewhere.
In fact, his tax dollars alone pay for my
Well,
salary.
that's why this position is very important.
But is that going to relieve him? Is that going to still relieve you of anything?
It's going to relieve me of some of the concerns I have for that pre-K population. It'll take some pressure off that. Again, we have so many staff. It's a staff-intensive business, right? It's really tricky. It's just one of those, we're in the business of, my end of the business is developing human capital, right? But it's developing human capital for kids who started kind of behind the curve. So we're trying to bring kids along who may not have started life very well, or who might have disabilities or challenges that
Well,
a
birth to
more
three
typical
is
kid might not
important
have.
to set that up. I understand that.
Correct. So, yeah, it's going to relieve us, it's going to relieve my office of some, it's going to relieve me of some, I don't want to say it's going to relieve me of any responsibility, because it really doesn't. It's probably going to allow me the time to do some other work that I really need to do. That's my biggest piece. There's some things that I need to focus on from where I sit to help move the district forward. Like, I have some very targeted things that I need to look at very seriously. And what it will do is it'll permit me, if that person takes some of that responsibility, if another supervisor or coordinator takes some of that responsibility, it'll allow me the time that I need to dedicate to that other work.
Okay.
Bob, this might be a silly question, but this position.
No silly questions.
This position's not going to replace at all the special assignment or the PPT chair or anything like this. Is in addition, correct?
No, it's not to replace the PPT chair.
I have a
Would
question.
it be,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
would it be beneficial to have an additional special assignment?
Well, the
Teacher?
regulation supports it, certainly.
Because
know-
I mean, it's such, I know how extensive the PPTs are, especially now going into next year after such a critical year that we had. I mean, I don't think it would be, if that grant would support it, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to even having you go back and look to see if we could support an additional special assignment teacher
Right.
as well if we had the staff for it.
I'm not sure the grant would support two positions.
Okay.
So, and there is some language in the grant that does not permit the use of the grant for more than 10% of administrative positions.
Okay.
So there's some other nuances related to grants that I didn't go into. Again, it's an excellent question, and kind of wish you could do it, but there is some nuances in the special ed grant itself that
Right.
doesn't permit that. Because, again, the purpose of the grant, right, supplement, not supplant, services provided by the district, which are ultimately provided in combination with the municipality, right? There's no free money. The money's got to
Right,
come
of
from
course.
somewhere, right? So what we need to look at is where we can better utilize talent and resources as we go along to maybe support that a little bit. Everybody's nervous about next year, but we're going to have to do some work to figure out how we're going to handle next year. And again, I've had this conversation with other superintendents in other districts as well. We've had, 20% of our kids, let's just say 20% of our kids not be able to participate in instruction this year. We're at 16.5% special education population right now. No district in the country is equipped to take that 20% of kids who maybe never showed up for instruction this year and make them, and have them, the answer is special education. It can't be. It can
No.
never be. It was never intended to be.
So we have 16%?
What's our
That-
current percentage? Our current percentage of special education in districts is 16.5%. Slightly over about 1% over the state average.
Okay, so the state average is 15?
About 15%, 15.
Right. So my question is, so are all 16 how many have not shown up for?
I couldn't give you that information
Okay.
tonight. Yeah. Again, that's a separate conversation. The question was about concerns about next year, what are you going to do next year, and can we create another position? Or should we be thinking about a secondary position? Again, I can't support that through the grant. I have concerns about it, but I also have concerns. I have concerns also, I think the question is an excellent one, but I have concerns also if our thinking is that those kids that maybe missed out on instruction this year, or maybe, let's reframe that too. Let's not say they missed out on instruction. They weren't here in person, right? They may have learned a lot. They weren't here in person. But we can't think of that 20% as kids that may be special education students, because that's probably not the best way to service them. The best way to service those kids is going to be to meet them where they're at and educate them through the regular education environment.
Right.
We're going to have to take what they learned, because they learned something,
Right.
right? They learned something. They
Yeah,
learned to be
and-
creative. They learned how to access technology, right?
Absolutely.
There was a
Right,
lot of
and-
things they
and
learned. They learned how to
sadly-
manage their time, maybe.
Absolutely.
And actually, the whole country is in the same.
The whole
place.
country's in the same
The whole
situation.
world,
So that's
you
a
know.
separate conversation, so I would save that for the
Yeah.
superintendent and myself, because we'll work on it together.
You
But
got
that's
it.
a separate conversation.
Bob, I know you said that this would not cost us because it would come out of a grant, but has there a salary been established for this position, or will that depend upon?
Yeah,
when
that's
you-
what I asked.
It's in the coordinator's bracket, line, whatever the
Under
coordinator's line in
administration.
administration.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't bring that information with me. I'm sorry, I don't
All right.
remember that number off the top of my head.
But the grant will cover it, so
Yes,
at least, right? the-
yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this topic?
Please, I'll talk to you guys all night. Eric will tell you, I'm a chatty Cathy, so I'll answer questions all day.
Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, we'll move on or back to the assistant principal hire.
Thank you.
And I guess, is Jen talking about that, or?
I can. So we tonight are putting forward a new hire for the assistant principal position at the East Haven High School. Her name is Amy Verratti. She comes with an extensive background at the high school level. She previously worked at the Milford Board of Education as a science teacher, and also currently works at North Branford Public Schools as a science leader. So she's had the leadership role. She went through a vigorous interview process. There was the initial screening process, which she then bumped up to the second round, which was held on April 6th, and I believe, Jack Stacy, you were a part of that as well. And then there was an additional round, which I think there were 3 candidates at that time, I believe, that moved up to the final round. And she was unanimously selected.
I will say that, and I don't even know how to put it into words, but she lit up that room when she came in for the interview, the part that I was on. I think there were 7 other candidates at that time, and there was just something about her. And again, I don't know the word to use to describe it, but I knew that this kid, or this young lady, was going to be, exceptional and be really good for the school system. And the fact that she had played at MRL when she was a little girl from Aldwin Rec League. But no, again, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying, Eric, about how?
So I sat in on the final round, which included a series of questions, but also the candidates participated in a task where they facilitated a meeting around
Bless you.
school improvement with the 4 instructional groups. And I think, Jack, what you're alluding to is this sort of energy and enthusiasm.
Yes.
In a very positive, productive manner that she brought to the room. In particular, not only through when she was answering the questions, but also in the way that she engaged with the leadership team in dialogue around school improvement planning, around the vision of the graduate, and around some of the NEASC standards as the school was going through accreditation.
Yeah.
She was very knowledgeable, incredibly passionate, really focused on improved student outcomes through better adult actions. And so I think that she's going to be a great fit here at the high school for the assistant principal position. And Michelle, you were in the final interviews as well. So I, anything else to add, if I left anything out, please.
Get a hold of it.
No, I found her to be, like, as Jack said, there was just something about her that I think was a very strong presence, and I think she'll be an asset to the district.
Thank you.
anything else? Any other questions?
Was there anything uploaded to our Mike's resume, letters of recommendation, anything?
No, we don't typically do that for new hires, but I have all that data with me if you'd like to look at it.
I mean, the committee all had that.
We had
Sure, I have it right here.
If you're interested, we can certainly circulate that information.
Yeah.
Gee, I think it was a while ago, I think, obviously, you're right, we know you get it, but I think it was just other board members that did not have the access. We just said it a while back, I don't remember what the outcome was. It was just something we thought would be, I would like to see it, I know he would like to see it, but, you know. I'm just making sure you recall the conversation we had.
I don't, but that's okay. Thanks for
No, I just-
telling me. So we're expected to go through and approve or not approve, but, right? I mean, it's approved this tonight because that was the recommendation from the superintendent.
It's on the hires and rehires list.
Yes, her name is. She is. Okay, so that is the end of my meeting.
Okay, we'll
Melissa's
start-
going to upload that right now, actually, to the
we'll start
drives, okay?
finance meeting.
Thank you.
With purchase orders over $7,000. Anybody have any questions? All right, anybody have any question on invoices?
I do.
I do. Go ahead.
You go first.
All right, page 5 and 6, I'm just questioning, there was a whole bunch of tools and toolboxes purchased, all tools, some kind of saw. Just wondering what that was for?
That's
And
for
who-
IT to install all of the large format televisions like that one here in the high school. They needed equipment to do the installation.
Okay. And the other one is more just out of curiosity. What is $10 to Attilio's men's clothing?
$10, that's my
Page 8.
question.
They embroider our Letterman jackets. They do the embroidery for our athletes.
Okay.
Wait, where is Attilio's?
Right up on,
Tell me you needed
Oh, they're still there. Okay, I'm getting
lapel-
them mixed up with
lapel
someone
for my-
else.
For my suit.
Okay,
I know where they are.
thanks.
But it also, you said $10?
Yeah, I saw Attilio's blanket,
More than
$10.
No, I saw over $3,000 that's for
to
embroidery?
Attilio's?
Oh, I think I did. Sorry, men's clothing.
Wrong line.
Oh, I see.
Wrong line.
I'm looking, yeah, I looked at the wrong line because it's at the top. It's at the top of the last one, I guess. See, that confuses me. Yeah, they've done that forever, too. They do a nice job of engraving. I'm not gonna, or whatever they do, they're. This is purchase order invoice total. I'm not quite getting it. That's all right. I'm good, Tom.
Okay. All right, health insurance report.
So the health insurance report's the last 2 pages of your board packet. There's the summary page in front, which is new, by the way. So if you guys don't like that or have any changes you want to do to that, let me know. I just tried to simplify things in a summary format so it's easier for you guys to flow and see. But for the month of April, our income was more than the money we paid out to Anthem by $45,000. Again, we haven't touched our reserve account. That still stands at the 4.95. And the last 2 months of the fiscal year seem to be beneficial for us, so we should not tap into that money at the end of this year.
Good. Anybody have any questions? All right. School readiness grant and quality enhancement grant.
Yes, so as part of your packet, you have two parts of the school readiness grant, the regular school readiness grant and what's called the quality enhancement grant, or the QE. The QE is a very small amount dedicated specifically to professional learning. In the past, the state has requested that we dedicate it to technology moving forward during this time to make sure that any preschooler engaging in remote learning has access to the technology that they need. Every year, we bring this grant forward to the board for approval in terms of the budget and how the funds are allocated. And so you have the breakdown in your packet as to where the funds are going by line.
All right, anybody have any questions? Move on to the adult education grant.
Just like the school readiness grant, every year, the adult education improvement grant, the PEP grant, comes before the board for approval. You can see the budget included in the packet and where the funds are being allocated.
If there's no questions on that, we'll move on to the budget.
All right, so for the budget, there is a sheet in your board packet that has potential 2021, 2022 budget cuts. The town approved their budget Monday, I think it was the 3rd, and our initial request of $27,565 was cut down to $50,000. So the sheet you see in front of you is our proposal. We will have probably a separate meeting to finalize this and get this forward, but I wanted to get something in front of you to get the ball rolling on where our thinking is for this. Some large ticket items that you're going to see in here is going to be, since the budget was requested, we negotiated our transportation contract, and that equated into $275,000 in savings. We've had retirements since the budget was created. There are 5 retirements in this proposal of cuts, which is just savings from, a fully 30-year staff going down to a new hire. That includes the full boat, but this will also change because tonight we heard of another retirement that's not included in here, and there's more asking. So in the next couple of weeks, as those become solid, this spreadsheet will change it as well. So that's why it's just a cursor to get out there, get the ball rolling, get everyone thinking on what our thought process is. Any ideas, please feel free to call me, drop a line, come on in. We can not negotiate, we can discuss and make adjustments as we need, as we see fit. Another large item here you're going to see is the comment of funded by rescue funds. When this was prepared, we were not aware if we were going to receive the new round of rescue funds. So one of the large items is paraprofessionals. We had increased their hours last year from 19. We allowed them to work 31 hours per week. The outcome was very successful, so we wanted that to continue. So we included that in the operating budget, but because we have the new round of rescue funds, we can now fund those extra hours with the rescue funds. So it's a one-time deal. It allows us to supplement our budget. So if we want to discontinue that in the future years, it's not going to have an effect on our operating budget. So you're going to see a large item there, the $306,205. That represents the additional time, that 19 to 31 for our staff. That's going to be funded for that one time because of COVID reasons. And there's also some staff in there for teachers where, to minimize the classroom size, there's 2 grant-funded positions that now that we have those funds, we can utilize those instead of our operating. So it's really just having more information at a better time than when the budget was prepared.
So what about if those hours, so you're just increasing them and continuing the increase for next year only?
Well, it's a year-to-year basis, correct?
Yeah,
The
so
budget
there's a-
is, but that-
There's a large increase when you move from, anyone working between 19 and a half up to 31 to everybody working 31 hours.
Right.
This year, we supplemented that with ESSER funds, right? We put it in the operational budget because we wanted to continue to allow paras working those additional hours. We did that because when we put the budget together in December, we didn't know we were going to get another round of ESSER funds and another round of rescue funds. So we made the budget cut here, and we'll write those additional hours into our rescue funds.
It is my plan, because it is so successful, I would like to, Eric and I have spoke of working that into our operating budget. So we have the rescue funds for 3 years, right? And if it's a $300,000 bill for us every year to do that, and we have 3 years, we have 3 years to properly plan for that to get into our operating budget.
Okay, I understand.
So next year, we can absorb 100,000 per year. So when we get to year 4, we're going to maintain the level of service for our students, but our budget's going to be properly, it's not going to be a shock to the system in year 4 for us.
So you don't have to absorb it all
Yeah.
in 1 year.
I missed that 3-year thing,
Yeah.
so I apologize. Thank
Yep.
you.
So any thoughts on the preliminary budget cuts as presented here? We really try to maintain the integrity of our programming, you know, get creative by supplementing with the rescue funds without creating an instance where the operational budget would have to absorb all of that, you know, in year 3 when those funds go away.
And again, not tonight, but if you have any ideas over the next couple of weeks, feel free, please, to working, I'm assuming we may have a separate meeting for this, when we have to do the final
Yeah,
approved
you know,
budget, so we can spend some time?
Initially, when we bring the budget cuts to the board, we always ask for your input and your thoughts relative to what we have listed here. Obviously, some of them are easy because they're retirements, and another one came in today, so we can make another adjustment and bring back a revised budget cut. But by the end of May, we would really like to have the board approve a 2021, 2022 operating budget so that we can begin to build it in the system and utilize those funds come July 1, when principals are beginning to, and staff are beginning to purchase things in preparation for next school year. And planning so that they are here in district, arrived in schools prior to students starting. Thoughts, comments? Any other suggestions, edits, revisions you'd like to see before we bring you back another version?
No, I think it's great with the contract saving with the bus company. I think it really helped
That
us
helped.
significantly. So that was a great job with that, the bus company.
Thank
So,
you.
Great job with that.
All right. If nobody else has any questions, we'll move on to buildings and grounds, please.
The last discussion we had, Bob, regarding the first agenda item of the list.
Please, you gotta get closer to your mic.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry, guys. And I also apologize. I'm a little,
I think you directed a question at me, Lisa, and I didn't hear you.
yeah, no, it's my fault. I have really bad allergies. So I was just stating that you guys had discussed the last revisions and what you thought would be the moving forward regarding the playscape at Farrar. I was not there, so I didn't know if you wanted to step in. That's when I was away.
So
Chris.
the last revisions are simply having to do with a area that seems to be, seems to draw a lot of water, and because of the ledge, does not drain down properly, and would become not only an area that's difficult to maintain for our partners in Public Works, but a, you know, potentially wet area that breeds mosquitoes or other creatures this time of year. So that, you know, my last conversation was with Joe, our project manager today, Mr. Luciano, and we were looking at pea stone for that area. That playscape is essentially done. Other than that, I think it may need some mild, some modest grading around the curb area, but I have not been up there now in about a week. So I haven't been up there in about a week, so I can catch up on that tomorrow.
That's all he said to me, was that they were putting a piece on. I talked to him as well today.
So,
I just also, I know we're on Ferrara, but I just wanted to ask you quickly. He was a little bit misinformed. He thought tonight would be on the agenda regarding Tuttle. I had said to him it would not be brought
no,
forth.
no, not for tonight. no.
Okay, so,
No,
is there confusion, or what was it?
no, I don't think we plan to,
In an upcoming meeting,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't think we plan to put Tuttle on the
Okay.
board meeting tonight.
No, I didn't say it. He just thought it was, and he had called and said,
Okay.
was I going to present anything? Well, thank you, and I know everyone at Farrar is very happy. I've gotten some phone calls, so thank you, everyone. And the second one is the bid results for the boilers.
Okay, so we went out to bid, it was posted in April, we closed on the 22nd. We had asked for bids for Deer Run, East Haven Academy, Ferrara School were boilers, and East Haven High School was for the burners at the East Haven High School. We had a mandatory walkthrough, 7 companies came out, 3 came back and gave us bids. They were opened up on the 22nd, and the bid results are as follows. The lowest bidder was Bovair Plumbing. I think they're out of East Hartford. They were lower by $37,000 in totality. You will see, though, that my recommendation tonight is to go with MCOR, who is our second highest bidder. The reason we haven't brought this to the board since was I was doing some background checking and checking on licensures in the meantime. And there was just some questions with Bovair that I wasn't comfortable presenting with you tonight. On the state website where licensing is, the companies are, when you pull up their company name, they are not commercially licensed to install these boilers. They're only licensed for piping, which is a P1 license and not the S1. We reached out to them, and they've provided proof that one of their employees has the S1 license to do the work, but it's not linked to the company name on the state website, which means they could be a subcontractor or it could be an employee who's just not updated with the site. Their website and their letterhead that they provided us did not have a company license number on it, which is a requirement for these companies. I think Tommy can vouch for that. It needs to be on their trucks, it needs to be on their letterhead, and it's nowhere to be found. They are doing work over in the city of New Haven for all of their schools. I contacted them. They are happy with their work, but it was just the discomfort level I had with the licensing problem that we had. It also came to our attention that what we spec'd out in the RFP, these products could only be purchased through one supply house because it's manned by one person in the state of Connecticut. They were not contacted to get prices for this bid spec. So that means we're either getting a subpar product that may cause us problems in the future, or we're getting something we didn't ask for. So to that regard, we come to MCOR, who has installed all our boilers to date beyond these, what we see right here. We are happy with their work. They are in town doing all our maintenance and repairs on HVAC and our boilers now. We are happy with their work. They are satisfactory. They are very responsive. So it is my recommendation that we go with MCOR to do this work. This is grant funded. The Alliance grant will cover Deer Run, the Academy, and Ferrara. Once these are done, all our boilers and all our schools will be brand new. I will probably come to you in the upcoming months for a maintenance agreement, because I'd like to, now that they're new, I'd like to maintain them and not worry about things breaking, but keep up with them. So expect that in the upcoming months. The extra money, I know it states here that we'd like to use the rental account. When I prepared this recommendation to you, I was in the process of working with the town hall because we have capital project money left for boiler replacements. So the town will honor our bid requirements and our bid specs, so we can use what's left at the town side to cover our excess costs here. So this will have no impact on our operating budget. Whatever's not covered through our grant, the town capital project funding will cover it, so no impact for the operating. That was a lot, so if there's any questions.
No, I just want to stay,
Yeah.
MCOR, obviously, we've worked with them for many, many years, and you're right, this is their area, they have done the installation. I just, just make sure, I think that we just keep on it. I think that there were some questions in the past of them not responding in ample time, but then that was rectified, so I don't really see a problem with it either, but just make sure we're on top of it, make sure that,
Absolutely.
hold them accountable.
Absolutely. And all this work will be done over the summer. Once we give them approval, they will order all the necessary equipment, get it done over the summer, so when school starts, we'll be fully functioning.
Everyone comfortable with MCOR?
And again, there's nothing wrong with the First Company. I just don't feel comfortable presenting them tonight to you. Full disclosure to say I'm confident that we may save 40,000 here, but we may spend 50 down the road to fix what may or may not be a problem.
I think we also remember the last time what happened if it wasn't in the actual area on the bid list, and that, we can't mess around again, so, great, thank you. Any other business that might rightfully come before finance and buildings and grounds? All right, thank you.
Order this evening's meeting. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call attendance.
Tia DePalma,
Here. I got nervous, I was looking for my computer.
Jennifer DeLongo,
I'm never gonna get used to it.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Here.
Tom Hennessy. Tom Murtaugh. Here. Marianne Pellegrino. Here. Erica Santiago.
Here?
Jack Stacy.
Here.
And Michelle DeLucia.
Here. All right, my report for this evening. I just wanted to share, as you know, that the vaccine has now been approved for 12 and up. We were speaking with East Shore tonight. We are probably going to set up a van clinic, which is going to be able to happen very, very soon, within the next few weeks, for both our high schoolers and middle schoolers. So there'll be more details to come about that. And then on another note, you'll see we have a speaker here this evening to go over something. We're going to be having a workshop next week. We'll do it virtually for everybody's schedule, to discuss some information about academics. For instance, on one note, about the last week of school being half-days. Then on another note, for next year, for the board to vote on whether we're going to still offer a virtual option. And then there's also going to be the possibility of working to be able to fit in a little bit more instruction during the school day. And Diane will have a little bit more information on that, on a pilot that was done. So Diane, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I didn't know what you were doing, Michelle.
And this is Mrs. McKinnon from Moglen School.
Principal.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
And you can see me. All right, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Board of Education members. I thank you so much for having me talk with you this evening and giving me the opportunity to share some really exciting work that we've done at Moglen School. I want to start by thanking my teachers who committed to this project, as well as the students, because everyone was so committed to participating in this. Students talked about not wanting to miss school because they were excited to be seen every day by their teachers, and they recognized the growth they were making. And if teachers needed to be absent, we had people that were willing to jump in and take their place, so that we could ensure that we really had a program that could sustain no matter if someone was absent or not. And everybody really pitched in to make this happen. So just to give you a little bit of background information, teachers typically teach whole group instruction to the whole class, and then they work with students in small groups. Typically, there's anywhere from 2 to 6 students in a small group for targeted instruction based on student need. We usually use the DIBELS progress monitoring to analyze where students are and where they need support. And typically we can see students in small groups 3 to 4 times per week, sometimes only 2 times per week. But we aim for 3 to 4 times per week for 15 minutes per session. And although we've tried over the years to implement various strategies if students weren't making progress, we always seem to end up with the same results year after year. We were never really making a big enough impact in moving more students to immediate grade level. So we said, despite always saying that there's not enough time and there aren't enough enough human resources available to do this at a school-wide level, we said, what if we tried this on a smaller scale? But what if we committed to seeing all students in a classroom 5 days per week for 30 minutes in small groups? Would that make a difference to increase to that level of intensity and frequency of instruction? So what we did, we started on March 22nd, and we had a team of teachers that committed to this. We had our reading coach, our academic interventionist, 3 special ed teachers, a literacy para, and 2 special ed paras. Each of them saw anywhere from 3 to 4 students in a small group, as I said, 5 days a week for 30-minute sessions. And if you're looking, I believe you have the document in front of you that shares some of the results. There were 28 students, and some of the assessments that we use, and we work with students on these, are correct letter sounds, where students have to look at a 3-letter word. It might be a nonsense word, so it might be mag, let's say, because mag is part of magnet. And we want them to first make the sounds, and then we want them to just blend it and say mag. So when you see correct letter sounds, they're just getting the sounds of the words, and some students were working on just that. And you can see that when we started this on March 22nd, we used the middle of the year benchmark goals. We had 55% of our students that were well below grade level in correct letter sounds. And these are second graders. This is not something we like to see by second grade. We want students reading in second grade. So 55% of our students were still well below grade level as expected. After a 5-week period, we were able to reduce that amount, the amount of students, to 20 by 20%. So only 35% of students were well below grade level. And you can see that some of those students moved to just below grade level, but there was a percentage of students that moved even to at grade level and above grade level in just 5 weeks. Words read correctly, as I said, is when students can take that mag and just read mag. They're able to read the word. Sometimes they can sound it out first, but they can read the word and get it correct. 52% were well below grade level after just 5 weeks. Only 35% of students were well below grade level. Still not what we'd like to see, but in a 5-week period, that's pretty impressive. And you can see after the 5 weeks, we had a 21% increase in students that were at grade level. Word reading fluency is a new assessment that's part of DIBELS this year. So we don't have anything to compare that to in previous years, but you can see there's also a big reduction in word reading fluency, which those are real words. They come from some various sight word lists. And again, we didn't move a lot of students out of well below or below, but we did move a large percentage to below. If you look below where it says, was the yellow highlight where it says correct letter sound, that's the progress we made in 5 weeks. And you can say, well, big deal, because maybe you've done that in the past. If you look at that same cohort of students, so when these students were in 1st grade, and I said same in quotes because it's obviously a different group of children. Some have moved away, some have moved in, so it's a slightly different group. But that group of, the current group of second graders who were in 1st grade last year, from beginning of year to middle of year, they increased, the number of students increased that were well below by 6%. And the number of students that were at grade level decreased. So you can compare percentage. So if you look at that same group of students and compare incorrect letter sounds, you can see how impressive it was in the 5-week period, what we were able to do. Even more impressive is the work that occurred with the whole words read, which is the goal. We want kids just to look at a word and read it. We had a 17% reduction in 5 weeks, but in first grade we had a 25% increase in the students that were reading well below grade level. Same thing with the same group of kids this year, from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year, 18% increase. So I think these results are really very impressive, and obviously the goal of this targeted instruction and the word work, the work that we do with words, is to get kids reading. So when students are ready to take a reading assessment as part of DIBELS, their fluency will be measured. Fluency is the words read correctly in a 1-minute timed test. And 14 out of the 28 students were able to take the fluency assessment. The others were not ready yet, but 14 out of 28. Typical growth for students is 1.5 words per week, so you would expect them to grow by 7.5 words per minute after a 5-week period. 12 out of the 14 students that took that assessment exceeded that goal, and 8 out of 12 more than doubled the number of words they were able to read per minute, the growth. So it's really impressive the work that can be done when you have enough teachers available, enough bodies available to work with children in small groups and commit to it 5 days a week for 30 minutes. It clearly made a much greater difference than just working with them 3 to 4 times a week for 15 minutes. And my hope is just to find a way to do this on a much larger scale so that we can provide the same type of support for students school-wide. Really, really proud of my team and my students for working so hard to achieve this.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Principal McKenna, I just want to remind everyone, this was only after 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
So what would you is there any way to project what type of increase we might see maybe from the beginning of the year to halfway through up to the midpoint?
I would expect to see more than double that. I mean, we have 30-some weeks in a school year, so considering 15 weeks and half of a year, I would expect to see double, if not triple, that kind of growth. Every student grew in some way, and it was just amazing to move. I know you're all familiar with these assessments, but we moved kids from well below to at grade level. That just doesn't happen in typical small group support.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. You have a
So
question?
this was done this was done consistently, but it wasn't done during the school day?
It was done during the school day, yes. It was done during the school day with one class of students and one group from each of 2 other classes. We had enough staff to do that. We had the reading coach committed to it, the academic interventionists, as I said, some paras, our special education teachers. They would work with some other students in addition to students on their caseload.
I have a question.
Who's it?
Go ahead.
The people that you had to, the staff that you had to commit to this, is it at all possible to have that staff committed constantly? Do you have to take away from other services in order to commit this staff to this intense work all the time?
I could probably address this, Diane. That's something we're going to be discussing at the workshop next week, because we should be able to use some of our relief funds in order to do this, I think, throughout the district. And that's the way we're going to do it, is something that we're going to be, we need to really talk about next week.
Very good.
I think, I think Diane's point is that, with what it was targeted, intentional instruction in specific areas of reading and math. And Diane, it's Bob. I don't know if you can see me or not because I'm way over in the corner. So that targeted intentional instruction, yielded some big results for us. It was also time sensitive. It was an additional 30 minutes per day.
I think that's what I was
So
referring to.
I think that that's one of the things that we're going to have to maybe squeeze out of that next meeting to try and understand how we get there.
Yeah, and we have some details that we'll go over during that workshop. I think it would be premature to discuss them right now.
This is like a real targeted, and that's proven, that's your student, SRBI, right? Students, you know,
Yes.
response to intervention, and if you have that constant every day, 5 days a week, and 30 minutes, that's not a lot of time, but it certainly, if you can keep your group small enough, is what makes it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Jack Stacy. I just want to thank you for this presentation, because I think this is the essence of what we're here for, you know, to see student improvement. And you know, I love seeing stuff like this, so thank you very much.
So do I. So do I. It really takes a team. It takes a team of people that are committed to it, and, you know, we need the bodies to do this, and we need the time to do this. So, as I said, we've done this with one class, and I really believe we can do this school-wide if we have the time and the people available to help.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I taught at a high school, and I had classes, it was a small group, so I had classes with like 8 students in it, and you could see how much more we could get done than the class I had with the 20 students. So when you can work in that small groups, if you have the personnel, it'll show you results.
Right. And I also want to add that the teachers were asked if they wanted to continue. This was a 5-week project to see what we could do, and everyone wanted to continue. They wanted to keep moving these kids, and they wanted to target, they had moved up to their next targeted area, or their instructional area of focus, and teachers wanted to keep going, and the kids wanted to keep going. I went into a classroom, and one of the students said, you know, Mrs. McKinnon, I used to be really bad at this, and now it's really easy for me. So that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Diane, it's Lisa. I just wanted to thank you, and also really thank you. We asked for data, and you're giving us data, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Diane.
Okay, take care.
Wow.
All right. So I'll be sending an email later on to see what night would be good for everybody, okay? All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask if there's any subcommittee reports. We'll start, Jack, okay?
I got a few things, so I wanted to report on. So first of all, the boys' tennis team has qualified for the state tournament. First time since 2008. So it's quite an accomplishment. Girls' basketball, Taylor Salato made all area and all state, representing East Haven High School. The CIAC sent out a letter to Mr. Donuzzo to pass on to the boys' hockey team. They, throughout the season, were recognized for their discipline and how they played the game, and they did not receive one major misconduct, which would be like a fighting or foul language at an official or something like that. So they were recognized by the CIAC for that. Want to mention girls softball and the great season that they're having. And finally, I was informed by a very enthusiastic member of this board that the JMS softball team won tonight 9-7 over North Haven.
Nice.
Okay, Tia?
Well, we just had a subcommittee meeting, so we'll be looking at a new personnel, and I'll save that for during the meeting. And then we are in negotiations still with the custodians, making progress there, to make progress there, excuse me.
Policy?
Nothing at this
Nothing.
time.
Tommy? All right, so moving right along to,
Michelle, just want to update on buildings and grounds.
oh, that's, I'm sorry.
No
I meant to do you
problem.
first, and then Jack
Don't
got
worry
all
about it.
excited, so.
Just to update on Farrar, Playscape, it's moving along, coming to the end phase, and everyone's looking forward to it. Everyone's happy. That's pretty much it. I don't know regarding the boilers. Arch, just moving through with bids.
Yeah,
and we're
you
looking
you have
possibly-
on the agenda tonight to approve MCOR for installation of 3 more boilers in our schools and the burners at the high school.
Thank you.
All right. So let's move along to approval of meeting minutes for a regular meeting on April 27th. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes, April 27th, 2021.
I will
Second.
second that.
All right.
There we go.
Anybody have any questions, comments? If not, for approval of meeting minutes and consent agenda, I would like to ask that we do an aye vote, if everyone's okay with that? All right.
Aye.
Okay, so at this time, the motion is to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 27th, 2021. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. That brings us to approval of the consent agenda. We have approval of invoices for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $567,967.54, and approval of purchase orders over $7,000. Do we have a motion?
Jack Stacy, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda in the amounts read.
Erica Santiago, I second it.
Good. Anybody have any questions or comments? So again, I will ask all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. Awesome. So that brings us to our audience of citizens portion of this evening. If anyone is here, I ask for you to come on up to the podium, sign your name. Did anyone fill out a list? Did we have a sign up? There is a list, okay. If anyone here is going to speak, if you want to come up at this time, I just remind you to state your name and address. No one? No one rushing the stage? Okay. All right, so if not, then we're going to move along to new business. So we are at 7.1, discussion and possible action on the approval of hires, rehires, and stipends. And if everyone got their list.
Yes.
And was this updated, Jen? Was there something going to be updated
No.
on this, or not yet?
Nope, this is the only list.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that was uploaded.
Okay.
So, want a motion?
Or-
I sure do.
Well, we discussed,
We need a motion first.
okay. So I make a motion that we approve the hires, rehires, and stipends.
I will second that. Mary Ann.
Second for Ms. Pellegrino. At this time, I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions or comments on the hires and rehires and stipends.
Can I just make a statement? I'd like to just, there's a motion on the table for the assistant principal at East Haven High School. And I can say the name now, right? You know? It's, Amy Ferrati. She comes, according to Jack, with,
I can't hear it,
I'm
T. I
sorry.
think it's just,
it's on. So the principal, the assistant principal at, hello? It's not working. It's green. Hello? Hello? I thought I spoke loud. Hello?
That's much better.
Oh, boy. Give her the other one.
I know, that's too loud for me. Okay.
nice.
I'm trying not to yell into this, because I know I have a loud voice. But Amy Ferrati is our new assistant. Once we vote on this, she'll be the assistant principal at East Haven High School. She comes with, maybe Jen wants to speak to qualifications, if you would like.
Sure.
Thank you.
So she has been a science teacher in 2 other districts prior to here, if she's approved. In the 4 years that she was at the North Branford Public Schools, she went from a teacher to a leadership role in the science department. And she brings an energy and an enthusiasm to the position that we look forward to.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
just a few
Any
others on the
questions
list.
or comments? So then, at this time, list of hires and rehires, I'm gonna ask for, an aye vote. So all in favor to accept the list of hires, rehires, and stipends, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstain? We have one opposed, motion carries. That brings us to 7.2, discussion and possible action on the approval of the coordinator of pre-K 5 and special education position.
I make a motion to approve the coordinator of pre-K 5 special education position.
Second that.
Any questions or comments, or actually, Jen, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Maybe
I don't know if that would be Bob's.
Oh, Bob,
Bob.
I'm sorry. I know it was discussed in subcommittee, but just a little recap.
Sorry, guys, I had the mic off. So, the coordinator of special education is a administrative position to help facilitate the supervision, evaluation, and management of our pre-K to 5 population in East Haven. Thank you.
And this position will put us in compliance, right?
This position puts us in compliance with 1076 double D, which is a state regulation that's been around for quite some time.
Grant.
And it is grant funded.
Grant
Yes.
funded.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a
Right?
grant-funded position.
Are there any questions and comments or comments? So if not, Melissa, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Yes.
Tom Hennessy,
No.
Tom Murtaugh. Yes. Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Yes?
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
Yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
7 in favor, 1 opposed, motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to 7.3, discussion and possible action on the approval of the adult education PEP grant. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the adult education PEP grants.
I'll second that.
Okay. Bob, do you have any information on this? I know we've all talked about it, but just for a little recap. Okay. RJ?
I know this is a recurring grant that happens every year. Joe Ferriola is in charge of it. We are coming to the board for your acknowledgement and approval to submit this and receive the funding.
So nothing has changed? It's
Nothing has
just the
changed.
same?
Same thing.
Okay.
We just need the approval of the
Yep.
board before we submit.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments?
We have the paperwork in front of us, and I
Yep.
think it looks very clear.
Yes. It's okay.
All right, so at this time, I'm actually going to ask for a roll call vote.
Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Yes.
Tom Hennessy,
Yes.
Tom Murtaugh,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Yes?
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
Yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
8 in favor, motion carries.
That brings us to 7.4, discussion and possible action on the approval of the school readiness quality enhancement grant, which I believe is in your packet this evening. So at this time, I will ask for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the school readiness quality enhancement grant.
Second?
Any questions or comments on this?
I think this is the same as.
Yeah. Okay, well, still gotta see if anyone has any questions.
Oh, no, I was clarifying.
All All right, so at this time, then I will ask for a roll call vote.
Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Abstaining.
Tom Hennessy,
Yes.
Tom Murtaugh,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Yes?
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
Yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
7 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carries.
That brings us to 7.5, discussion and possible action on the approval of the vendor for the boilers, which will be funded by the DAS Alliance Grant. This will make it complete, I believe, these last 3 for all boilers to be new in district. The recommended vendor would be EMCOR, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
EMCOR?
Yeah.
So at this time, would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve MCOR for the vendor for the boilers, DAS Alliance Grant? Was that
Second it.
Funded by the Alliance Grant.
funded by the Alliance Grant?
Second.
Any questions or comments? At this time, Melissa, roll call vote?
Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Yes.
Tom Hennessy,
Yes.
Tom Murtaugh,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Yes?
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
Yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
8 in favor, motion carries.
That brings us to 7.6, discussion and possible action on the approval of the JMS tree in memory of John Prado. I'm going to just ask Artie, do we have prices on this?
No, so Jack can elaborate on this. This is going to be fully funded by the family. It's just our
Oh, okay.
approval of allowing them to do so.
Okay.
We will take care of the labor to plant the tree. Jack can tell you a little bit more about conversations he's had with the
All
family.
right, so I'll just ask for a motion at this time, and then Jack can give us a little bit more background. Do I have a motion?
Make a
Motion.
motion, go ahead, Jack.
I'll make a motion to approve JMMS tree in memory of John Prado.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Jack, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, this was brought forth by Carolyn Carafano, who is John Prado's sister. John Prado was a principal at JMMS school, passed away recently, went through some traumatic experiences in his life, lost his wife and mother-in-law in a wrong-way driving accident. So the family's requested to have a tree planted. They will pay for the tree. They will also pay for a plaque to recognize what the tree is there for. So we're just looking for approval to have that done, again, financed by the family, and we'll dig the hole.
I just have one little question. Do we know where we're putting it?
They would like it to be placed outside his window at JMMS, so it's the back of the building, probably the back entrance, I want to say it's probably 3rd, 4th window over, so you're probably
Mhm.
25
back
feet
there
in,
yesterday.
40 feet in.
So like that window where the principal's office
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
That vice principal, right, in that back corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I know what you're
It's
talking
close to the back that corner
Yeah.
staircase.
about. Okay.
And I believe, Jack can correct me, they've picked a tree that's not overpowering, not overbearing, 12-foot, fully grown, so it
Okay.
shouldn't be a hindrance to the property.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Sounds good to me. All right, so at this time, if there are any questions and comments?
Not that I would have known where that office was.
Not that one.
All right, so,
Me neither.
Melissa, could you do a roll call?
I was just going
Yes.
to add one thing if I could.
It's
Sorry.
probably worth every minute, amazing.
I could bring it up,
The agenda?
no, you said discussion.
Oh,
so,
you have,
yeah.
that's what I say, you have questions or comments?
Well, I just have a comment that I would like it to be something that perhaps, fundraising, not something to add to this memorial could happen from different groups perhaps, or different fundraiser activities, put like a bench or something with it if eventually or something. I don't know. I just would think the school would want to be a part of the doing something, if at all possible in the future, just to put it in the back of everybody's mind.
Absolutely.
No, Tia said wonderful, and other schools do that, and it's wonderful just to follow
Yeah.
and show that, that's beautiful.
That's what
We
I
can
just
put
think.
them in line with the contractors that we use for benches in town, that if they wanted to have one of those personalized, we can do that for them.
Can you put one back there, though, near the parking lot?
There's enough space
Yeah.
probably.
Is there enough
where we-
space? That's right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to picture the space, and I just.
so you have the side, you have the road, you have the sidewalk, and there's a good amount of grass between the sidewalk and the
And-
building,
and
so you
they have
probably
little,
could
like,
by the
stone
entrance.
benches. And this is, of course, if, you know, the family would want that as well.
Correct.
You know, obviously, I think they should have the same. Just throwing it out.
All right, anyone else? If not, Melissa, I'll ask you to do a roll call vote.
Okay, Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Lisa Geraci Anastasio,
Yes.
Tom Hennessy,
Yes.
Tom Murtaugh,
Yes.
Marianne Pellegrino,
Yes?
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
Yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
8 in favor, motion carries.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our meeting. Remind everyone that our next finance subcommittee is May 25th at 6:30, and our regular Board of Education meeting will be at 7 PM that evening as well. Again, I'll be sending out an email about that workshop for next week. I know that, we will, Thursday night, though, we're in negotiations.
It can't be
so-
Thursday
so it can't be
night.
Thursday. So I'll send something out about any day next week. And that is it.
I have one thing.
Sure.
Just want to remind all of you as elected officials that you are cordially invited to take part in the Memorial Day procession, which will be on Monday, May 31st, meeting at the American Legion Post on Thompson Street, step off at 12 noon. And you're all invited to take part in that procession.
I'll be there, Jack.
All right.
All right.
Michelle, I will be absent for the next meeting for the 25th. I will be traveling.
Okay, will you be able to make next
For
week's
you, Mayor.
workshop?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. All right, guys, that's it. Tommy, I'm 5 minutes over. I apologize on my.
I make a
estimate.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All right, meeting adjourned.